No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of WWE NXT Worlds Collide 2022, the first of two events. This was a premium live event, and then we got AEW All Out, the pay-per-view, 2 events in one day, 3 events in one weekend. It has been a very busy time in the world of wrestling. If you love great wrestling, this is the weekend to be sitting on your couch, enjoying the action, or attending one of the events. If you live in Chicago area or you can travel to Chicago, you'll be at All Out. You could have been at the Performance Center for Worlds Collide, and of course, all the fans in the UK got to experience Clash at the Castle. Shout out to everybody watching this live. I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody watching on demand as well. This show was all about unifying the NXT and NXT UK championships, but also there were 2 matches that were just about guys getting in the ring and having great matches, and gals too. So let's go ahead and break it down. Before we get started, I want to shout out the early birds, the people that show up right away. Darren G, Ken Terminates DQ, Keith Johnson, King Melho. Thank you guys so much. Joey Perez, I appreciate you all tuning in early. Thank you for that. We kicked off the show with Carmelo Hayes versus Ricochet for the NXT North American title. So this was not about unifying any titles, just a great match between 2 high flyers that are both amazing in the ring. Caleb Jacobs with a $3.01 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. Says, awesome premium live event, 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Very high praise there from Caleb Jacobs. And this was a hot start. This was a really hot match. And I would say it's the second best match so far of the weekend. I still would put Gunther versus Sheamus at the top. But this was my number 2. And I would say this was the match of the night. I thought the main event was really strong too. And overall, not a bad match on this show. But these guys went out there and they delivered the kind of match you would expect from them. Lots of action, both of them trying to outdo each other. And Carmelo's entrance, he had the jerseys on the screens of all the people he beat. He had one for Ricochet. And Trick Williams was out there. He got involved on a couple of occasions, distracting Ricochet. And Ricochet tried to ignore him for the most part, but Trick just kept getting involved. But he was careful to make sure the referee did not catch him. And they kept going at it. Lots of high-flying moves. And there's this one instance, it was like a cutter that Ricochet was hit with. Carmella springboard came off with this cutter-type move. It was crazy. I cannot even explain it because it was so nuts. Like, it came out of nowhere. Ricochet had done like this flip and then he got caught with it. It was crazy. And then both of them had the same idea at the same time. And I think these types of spots are a bit over choreographed. Like, this is something you might see in a Will Ospreay match, quite frankly, but both of them went for the same move at the same time, which logically doesn't really make any sense. But they each went to the opposite side of the ring, and then they came off the ropes and they collided with each other. I mean, it was a crazy visual, and the timing of it was just perfect. But I'm also at the same time like, it's a little over the top, but it was cool. I'll give them credit. They pulled it off quite nicely. Dr. Dakota Scorpio sent in a $5 super chat, says, did not watch the show, saving whatever energy I have left for the 5-hour and 15 match pay-per-view. Yeah, it's going to be a long night. We're just getting started here. And I am going to be back after All Out. Might be 12:30 past midnight. I have no idea, but that seems to be the likelihood. Might even be 1 o'clock. I don't know. But I will be here. I will be back on the No DQ YouTube channel to recap the entire All Out show. So I got to try to preserve my voice too. So anyways, Ricochet did a lot of impressive stuff. Both guys did. Trick Williams, after Ricochet hit the recoil, Williams pulled Carmelo's foot under the rope. Ricochet attacked Williams. Carmelo took advantage of the situation, and Ricochet hit Carmelo with a superplex. Crowd was chanting "Fight Forever," and they continued to go back and forth. Ricochet hit a poison rana on Carmelo, and then he knocked Williams off the apron. But then after Ricochet went for the shooting star press, Carmelo moved. Ricochet landed on his feet, but Carmelo was ready. He rolled up Ricochet with an inside cradle and scored the 1-2-3 victory. So Carmelo just barely had enough to pick up the win over a very game Ricochet. Went down how I expected it to, but it was a phenomenal match. Like I said, probably my second favorite match of the weekend up to this point, and we'll see what All Out can do. Sheamus and Gunther is still number one for me. And spoiler alert, with this entire card recapped, I'm still going to say that. So moving on here, we had the Creed brothers, the NXT champions, versus Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs, who were the NXT UK champions, versus Gallus, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang, or Coffey, and Pretty Deadly. This was a fatal four-way tag team match, elimination style. And this was a very fast-paced match. A lot of action, no real slow points with all four teams in there. But there was a little tease of some kind of shenanigans that were to come, because Roderick Strong was attacked in the parking lot before the match by a mystery assailant. So anyways, all four teams started brawling before the match even officially began. The referee eventually managed to get things under control. You had Lash Legend, who was out there. She was with who was she with? Pretty Deadly. I'm not even sure who she was. Oh yeah, Pretty Deadly, I think. She was out there with them. I haven't been following NXT, so I missed when they started teaming up together. Last time I watched 2.0, Lash Legend was doing those little backstage vignettes, so I had no idea that she was aligned with one of the tag teams. So anyways, she got in a fight with the woman that was out there with Jensen and Briggs's team. And they were brawling. They got in the ring and started fighting. And it was just chaos throughout this whole thing. Gallus ended up eliminating Jensen and Briggs pretty early on. They were the first ones out. And since they were the UK tag team champions, that basically meant that there would be new NXT UK champions, although it's pretty much just going to be the NXT tag team champions at this point. The remaining three teams had a little face-off, and then they kept fighting. Creed brothers hit their version of the Doomsday device to eliminate Gallus. Gallus were unhappy, and security had to come down to get them out of there. But then Jensen and Briggs started fighting with Gallus, and they fought all the way to the ring. The referee got knocked down as all this chaos was going on. And when he was down, Damon Kemp, who is with the Creed brothers, he turned heel on Julius. So I guess that means he was the one that attacked Roderick Strong, and he hit Julius with the steel chair. And at this point, Pretty Deadly picked up the pieces and scored the pinfall victory to become the new unified NXT tag team champions. TJS was not super impressed with this. He says it felt like a TV special. I'm not sure if he's talking about the whole event or just this particular match. This was a fun match, very entertaining match. So yeah, I did enjoy it for what it was, although I have to say I'm not really getting the Pretty Deadly gimmick. It's like are they the Beverly Brothers or two Dolph Zigglers? Like, what exactly are these guys? I'm not sure what this means for the Creed brothers. I thought they would have a longer reign as champions. Although those guys could probably be on the main roster now. Like they're ready to go as far as I'm concerned. Julius did some impressive things in this match. Tremendous athlete. I could definitely see him and Brutus on the main roster fairly soon. Like those guys just seem like they're ready to go. So maybe that's why they lost here. We'll see what happens. I mean, we got Solo Sikoa on the main roster now. Looks like they're starting to call up some more people. Caleb Jacobs says, bring back MSK. Well, we'll see how Triple H feels about that if he wants to give Nash Carter another shot. He did give Karrion Kross another shot. Next up, we had the triple threat match to unify the NXT Women's title with the NXT UK Women's Championship. Mandy Rose, the NXT champion, versus Meiko Satomura, the UK Women's champion, and Blair Davenport. Satomura competed in WCW, which I did not know. I watched a YouTube clip. She's been around a long time, and I never saw her wrestle in NXT UK. She did really well in this match. This was a strong match with the ladies. Funny enough, I felt like Mandy Rose probably looked the weakest as far as just her work in the ring. I still feel like she's not completely at the level of some of the other people in NXT. I feel like she struggles to keep up, but she has the most presence and personality, so that's what really helps her. Yeah, Satomura is like 42, so she must have been like 17 or 18 when she was on Nitro. That's crazy. I think it was like 97 when she was on Nitro. 15 years ago. That's nuts. How long she's been around. It's like Jeff Hardy. When you think about how young Jeff Hardy is, and like Rey Mysterio too, because those guys have been around forever. Jeff Hardy was wrestling in WWE during the New Generation era. I mean, granted, he was like underage, but he was wrestling there. So yeah, it's crazy, man, to see the longevity of some of these people. So it's pretty cool to see Satomura getting an opportunity here on the big stage. And in this match, it wasn't a whole lot of the three of them in the ring at one time. Like it would be one person taken out, and then the other two would go at it for a while. And as the match went on, the three of them started to be part of the match equally. Rose hit a superplex to Davenport, and then Satomura came off with a frog splash to Davenport, but Rose broke up the pin attempt. Satomura, she was double teamed in the beginning, but then later on she was able to take down both of them, hit a double DDT. She hit the Scorpio rising to Davenport, which was kind of like a scissors kick type maneuver. And Rose then all of a sudden came out with the kiss by the rose. She struck Davenport. That knocked Satomura down, and then Rose pinned Davenport to unify the titles. Pretty much what I expected here with Rose winning. Match was pretty good. I liked it. Good match here. And yeah, Mandy Rose is your unified champion. She got the big entrance, driving in with the car and everything. So yeah, they're continuing to push her strong, and I'm sure she'll be back on the main roster at some point, and maybe that's why some people thought she would lose here. But I figured in the unification match they'd keep Mandy strong, at least for the time being. And then we had the NXT Women's Tag Team title match, Katana Chance and Kayden Carter versus Doudrop and Nikki A.S.H. And this was a fine match. I mean, I would argue that this match definitely was something that could have just been on TV. Didn't really feel like a pay-per-view level match, but it was good. Doudrop using her power, and she was dominating for a while. Nikki A.S.H. using the old Fit Finley ring skirt technique to work over Chance. And Doudrop took out Carter on the apron. So Doudrop and Nikki were pretty much working as the heels in this one. Eventually, Carter got the hot tag, came in. Match went back and forth a little bit. And then Doudrop and Carter were on the top rope. And that's when all of a sudden we had the rest of Toxic Attraction come down to the ring. Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. They ran down to the ring. And everybody was distracted, although Chance and Carter were the ones that took advantage of the situation, and it looked like Toxic Attraction were there to screw over Nikki and Doudrop. Chance came off the top rope, pinned Doudrop. Nikki tried to make the save, but Toxic Attraction stopped her, so champs retain. Even though they were the faces in this match, they had the help from Toxic Attraction. Match was fine, but again, could have been just your standard television match. And then we move on to the main event, Bron Breakker versus Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate was walking through these rooms, and there were these screens that were projected with all these clips of him throughout his NXT UK run, which has been like 6 years. That's crazy to think that he's been in NXT UK for so long. Maybe he'll get an opportunity on the main roster. I mean, he's a fantastic wrestler. Smaller guy, but he definitely showed off his strength in this match. Like, he held his own in there. You would think that Bron Breakker would easily have the strength advantage, but Tyler Bate was showing off some power. He definitely held his own, and the crowd was very much behind him. I feel like they were more behind Tyler Bate than Bron Breakker. There were some dueling chants, but they were chanting Tyler Two Belts and whatever his nickname is. I forgot what his nickname was. He's not the biggest little man, something like that. Somebody in the chat room help me. He has a nickname that they keep using during the match. So anyways, they wrestled back and forth on the mat for a bit. They both kipped up at the same time. They went to the outside of the ring for a bit. And Breakker hit this bulldog off the top, hit a power bomb. Bate kicked out of it. And the crowd was booing Breakker a little bit. There were some cheers, though. Breakker put on an armbar, which Bate powered out of. Put on an airplane spin for everybody, and then slammed Breakker. Breakker kicked out. Bate busted out the Tiger Driver 97. Breakker kicked out again. Breakker hit his power slam. Bate got his foot on the rope, and then Bate started to have another burst of energy, another second wind, but then all of a sudden Breakker caught him with the spear. 1, 2, 3. Bron Breakker picks up the win. And very good match here. Big Strong Boy. Thank you for that, Spider Dan. That's the nickname I was looking for. Breakker gets the win here. No surprise. I figured Bron Breakker would win. Sportsmanship was shown after the match. Breakker bowed to him. Bate handed the titles over to Breakker. The two of them hugged, and Breakker raised Bate's hand. All is well. Showmanship and all that stuff. Breakker picks up another victory, unifies the NXT and NXT UK titles. So all in all, this was a very good match, and the show was really solid. Again, like I've been saying about the NXT 2.0 pay-per-view events, none of them have been at the level of the classic takeovers. This was a good show. I would give it a solid B. But like Tyler said, it probably could have been on TV. It didn't really feel, with the exception of Ricochet versus Carmelo, which I felt was like top tier pay-per-view quality match. Everything else was very good. Even the main event could have just been on a random NXT episode. But yeah, that Carmelo and Ricochet match, if you're going to watch any match from this show, go watch that one. That was quite the spectacle. And that was like a match you would see on one of the classic NXT TakeOver premium live events. Solid B for it. Good show overall. And we got more to come. We got All Out, like I said. I will be back after All Out with a recap. That'll be on the channel as well, on demand. Of course, this video on demand. All the live streams available on demand. You can check out the Clash at the Castle recap if you missed it. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Spread the word. Tell a friend about NoDQ.com. And I'll be back with All Out thoughts. NoDQ.com will have live coverage. And remember to say yes to NoDQ.com. See you all next time.